I left quietly after discovering my wife's affair. A year later, she found me, seeking forgiveness and a second chance. After hearing of Clara's adultery, I moved to the hills. I'm not sure why I'm writing this, but perhaps it will be helpful to someone now that the incident is over and I've moved on. After 3.5 years of marriage, I learned of my wife's affair in February 2018. I worked a contract job that occasionally required a lot of travel, but also permitted me work from home when I was available. I had been the director of a small technical sales company for almost 3 years, a job I loved because it challenged me and gave me the stability I'd always wanted. Clara, my wife, held a very lucrative position at a law firm. She was intelligent, driven, and beautiful, qualities that had originally drawn me to her. Our lives seemed perfect to everyone around us. Friends envied our success, and our families respected us for how well we had built our life together. But behind closed doors, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. At first, everything was wonderful. Our wedding, only 3 years ago, felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. I remember the day vividly, the sun shining, Clara's laughter filling the air, and everything feeling like it was finally falling into place. We were partners, best friends, and lovers. I was proud of her success at work, and she supported me with mine. Our weekends were filled with hikes, quiet dinners, and adventures that seemed never to end. We were that couple everyone admired, the couple that seemed unbreakable. However, over time, something began to shift. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when it happened, but the spark between us began to dim. I was often away on business, working long hours in foreign cities, closing deals, attending meetings, and eating lonely dinners in sterile hotel rooms. It was a dream job in many ways, fast-paced, rewarding, exciting, but it came with sacrifices. And those sacrifices slowly took a toll on our relationship. Clara was still thriving in her career, and together, we had built a comfortable life. But I started noticing small signs, things I dismissed as normal, occasional late nights at the office, dinners where only the hum of the TV filled the silence, and short, almost mechanical exchanges when I returned home. She seemed distant, preoccupied. I brushed it off. We were busy. We were building our future. I told myself it was just a phase, that we were still making time for each other when we could. But looking back now, I realized I was fooling myself. It wasn't a phase. It was the beginning of something that would eventually destroy everything we had built. Clara became more and more elusive. I would call her during my trips, and sometimes she wouldn't answer. Other times, her voice sounded distracted. When I came home, she would be in strange moods, withdrawn, curt. Our conversations became routine, polite but hollow, missing the warmth and intimacy we once had. The turning point came in early February, when I was returning from a business trip to San Francisco. It had been an exhausting few days, back-to-back meetings, late nights with clients, too many room service meals. All I wanted was to come home, see Clara, and have a quiet evening together. But when I walked through the door, something felt off. The house felt different, empty. Clara wasn't home, and the silence felt heavier than usual. I checked my phone. Nothing. Just the usual note. Won't be home for dinner. Don't wait up. But something felt wrong. I couldn't shake the unease growing in my chest. I went upstairs to unpack, and as I opened the drawer, something caught my eye, a small piece of paper sticking out beneath a stack of clothes. I assumed it was a receipt or a forgotten note, but when I pulled it out, I froze. It was a hotel receipt, dated the previous weekend. My heart started racing. I had been out of town that weekend. Who had Clara been with? A sick feeling washed over me. I stared at the receipt in disbelief, already knowing the answer, but not wanting to accept it. My hand shaking, I picked up her phone. I hadn't done this before. I trusted her. But now, trust had vanished. As I scrolled through her messages, the truth unfolded in front of me. Texts, photos, plans. She was having an affair. And it wasn't just a fling, it was ongoing. A secret relationship with someone from her office. The emotions hit me like a tidal wave. Rage, heartbreak, disbelief. How could she do this? How could she betray me? Betray everything we had? I stumbled back, clutching the phone, feeling the ground vanish beneath me. Clara, my wife, my best friend, had been living a lie, and I had been blind to it. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. The pain was suffocating. When Clara came home that night, I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I needed time to process what I had discovered. But she knew. The moment she walked in and saw my face, she knew I had found out. I handed her the phone silently. Her eyes scanned the messages. Her face went pale. Her hands trembled. As she looked up at me, a mix of guilt and fear in her eyes, "It's not what you think," she said weakly, her voice breaking. "I made a mistake. I never wanted to hurt you." The words fell hollow. The damage had already been done. I couldn't listen to her apologies, couldn't bear to hear her explanation. The truth was right in front of me, and nothing she could say would change it. I left that night, packed a small bag, got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going, only that I needed to get away. From her, from everything. The silence of the house was suffocating, and the weight of her betrayal pressed down on me. I ended up in the hills, a place I had visited many times in the past to clear my head. The isolation was what I needed, the quiet, the space to think, to breathe. The hills were always a sanctuary for me. Whenever life became too overwhelming, I would retreat to the small cabin I had rented years ago, far away from the noise, the chaos, and most importantly, far away from Clara. I never planned on staying long, just enough time to get my thoughts in order. But as the days turned into weeks, I realized I couldn't go back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I needed space to process everything, to deal with the overwhelming emotions that had consumed me since the discovery of her affair. I spent my days walking to the forest, lost in thought, the sounds of nature offering the only comfort in a time when everything I had known felt like it was falling apart. Every evening, I sat by the fire and thought about what had happened. How had things gotten this far? How had I missed the signs? I thought about our early days together, the laughter, the dreams we shared, the love we had built. It felt like another lifetime. The betrayal seemed so far removed from the relationship we once had, and yet it was a cold reality I had to face. I replayed the night of the confrontation over and over in my mind. Clara's eyes filled with fear and guilt haunted me. But I also remembered something else, the look of resignation on her face when she admitted what she had done. It was as if, deep down, she knew the damage was irreparable. Her actions had severed the bond between us in a way that words could never fix. The first few days in the cabin were quiet, almost peaceful, but slowly the pain began to settle in. I would wake up with a pit in my stomach, that hollow feeling in my chest, and the knowledge that my life had been irrevocably changed. The anger had subsided, replaced by a deep sadness and a longing for the life I thought I had. The future I had envisioned for us seemed like a cruel joke now. I was left to face the fact that I was alone, not just physically, but emotionally too. I don't know why I stayed at the cabin for as long as I did. Perhaps it was because I needed to heal, or perhaps because I needed the distance to clear my mind. But every so often, I found myself thinking of Clara. I remembered her laughter, her smile, the way she would curl up beside me at night. I missed those moments, even if I knew they could never be reclaimed. It was as if I was mourning the loss of the person I thought she was, the person I had loved with all my heart. Eventually, time began to dull the edges of the pain. I started to focus on myself, on what I needed to do to move forward. I began running again, something I hadn't done in years. The miles seemed to ease the tension in my body, and for brief moments, I could forget everything that had happened. I read books, wrote in my journal, and spent more time outside, enjoying simplicity of life. The cabin was quiet, peaceful, everything I needed to regain a sense of control. And then, one day, after a month of solitude, I got the call. It was Clara. Her voice was hesitant, unsure. She apologized again, just as she had on the night of our confrontation. But this time it was different. Her voice held a vulnerability I hadn't heard before, as if she had finally come to terms with what she had done. She told me that she missed me, that she had spent every day since our separation trying to figure out what had gone wrong. She admitted that the affair had been a mistake, a moment of weakness, but that she regretted it deeply. "I know I hurt you," she said, her voice trembling, "but I love you. I want to make this right. Please, I need a chance to show you that I can be the woman you thought I was. I can't lose you. I listened in silence. I hadn't expected this, didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to hang up, to continue my life without her, to move on. But another part of me, a part one couldn't ignore, still cared, still loved her. I need time, Clara. I finally said, my voice thick with emotion. I need time to think. We spoke for a few more minutes, and then I ended the call. I didn't know what to think. I wasn't ready to forgive her. I wasn't sure if I ever would be. But I also didn't know if I could just walk away from everything we had. Over the next few weeks, I tried to push her out of my mind. I focused on my work, on rebuilding the life I had started to put together again. But Clara's words echoed in my head. She loved me. She wanted a second chance. And I couldn't deny that part of me still wanted to believe her, to believe that we could start over, that she could prove herself worthy of my trust once again. But the question lingered in my mind. Could I ever trust her again? Could I truly forgive her for what she had done? The affair was not just a betrayal. It was a violation of everything I had believed in. How could I move forward knowing that the woman I loved had been with someone else? Someone I didn't even know. I spent a long time in conflict. My head told me to walk away, to let go, and never look back. But my heart still felt connected to her. It still missed her. And then one day, she showed up at the cabin. I wasn't expecting her. It had been weeks since our last conversation, and I had convinced myself that she would never come back. But there she was, standing on the doorstep, looking small and vulnerable. Her hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, and she wore a simple coat, the same one she had worn during the early days of our relationship. Her eyes were red from crying, and her cheeks were pale. "I had to see you," she said softly. "I couldn't stay away. Please, let me explain everything. Please let me show you how sorry I am." I stood there, frozen, not knowing what to do. Part of me wanted to shut the door, to end this once and for all. But another part of me, one I couldn't ignore, wanted to hear her out. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe it was a mistake. But I let her in.